Hey everyone, my name is Zach. I'm a 23-year-old competitive boulderer from Canada, currently living in Montreal. Welcome back to the COMPCLIMB training series, where I record most of my training, provide in-depth analysis of every session, and just chat about climbing with an emphasis on competition. So our couple weeks of training in Germany is continuing, and in this episode we're going to be training at another one of our favorite gyms in the Darmstadt area. So I think the idea with these Germany episodes is I'll try to do like an episode in each of our favorite gyms. So today we're going to be climbing at Boulderhaus, and then probably in the next episode, if everything goes to plan, we'll climb at Boulder as well. So yeah, Boulderhaus Darmstadt, an epic gym and one of the best slab gyms that I've just ever climbed at in any part of the world. And it's going to be pretty evident why in this session. We're going to hop on some really epic slabs in particular. And so, same idea with Studio Block. The gym was full of obviously just brand new boulders. This was my first time climbing here in almost a year. And this gym, also similar to Studio Block, is absolutely massive. So it's always a difficult challenge for me to rein myself in, make sure I'm not going too out of control and trying a whole bunch of boulders. And this is also especially important since we are trying to taper and not have our sessions go too out of control. And I can't be going too overtime in all of these sessions, which means that I'm probably going to be having to skip a lot of boulders, which always hurts, but it's important for the tapering. So to start off with, I warmed up and I decided to start with this boulder here. And as you can see, these boulders have some labels at the top of them. So these aren't just typical commercial boulders at Boulderhaus. These ones were from a competition simulation for a couple of the German team members before they went and competed at the European Championships. So these 4 boulders here are a little bit more extra comp style than usual. That being said, they do still set quite a lot of comp style boulders just in the normal sets. And so I did one of them there, as you can see. That one was pretty tricky, especially that last move. But what I was quickly realizing in this session today was that the jet lag is like super catching up to me right now. So that boulder was pretty physically intense, and I didn't feel super stable on it. My muscles were definitely aching, and I didn't feel like I had a lot of power to exert. So after putting that one down in a few tries, I realized, okay, I think this is going to turn into a slab and coordination session because I don't have much power to work with. But my movement skills were feeling pretty decent. And yeah, this is something I keep in the back of my mind. Well, not in the back of my mind. We're pretty conscious of this when we're traveling for events especially. Usually it'll take a few days for the jet lag to hit you extra bad. I think the common strategy with traveling and doing a time zone change in order to compete effectively is you either should go like right before the event, like 1 or 2 days before, and that window of like 2 or 3 days won't affect you too much. But it's actually like once you're 4 or 5 or even 6 days in, trying to adjust to a new time zone and like sleeping patterns will really mess your body up, and you'll start to feel the effects pretty hard, even like 5 days in. And that's what's happening to me right now. Is I was feeling worse today than I was in the first like 2 or 3 sessions we had at Studio Block. Even though, in theory, we've been here longer and you'd think we would have adjusted more to the time zone, there's like a little window a few days in where you really get messed up. And so that's what I was experiencing today. Thankfully, I still had some flows, as you can see. We're trying a really spicy coordination boulder, which was brand new. And this one, the setters like put a lot of work into, they were telling me. They spent like 3 hours working on this boulder or something, and it shows. It's got some really nice creative moves. And yeah, this one was perfect to try right now because it really didn't require any physical power. It was just about the movement. And so, yeah, there's like there's a big learning curve with this boulder. This first lâcher was pretty tricky. It's all about just maximizing the amount of power as much as I could to carry through the jug. And then this next move, I actually had to focus on jumping a little bit less so that my arm was stayed in that locked out position to land the press. Whereas the times I was falling, I would have too much force and then my arm would start to bend. And then, yeah, we had a bit of a tricky finish as well, that one. But yeah, you can see it's not just a studio block that sets the boulders that travel like, 10 feet across the wall horizontally. Boulderhaus is pretty great for these epic traversing COORDO slab boulders as well. Yeah, like really good slabs and really good coordination boulders in this gym. Here's another great example of both of those styles. And it's just because the setting team here are like really, really psyched. Like the setting team at this gym has like a lot of energy, and it's always great climbing with them and chatting with them, and they just love to set fun moves because they're just so psyched and it gets them so fired up. So I think this one was set by Elias, and he is all about setting like really fun, jumpy COORDO moves. And this one is going to feature a pretty prominent theme of today's episode. This is going to be our first lollipop of the day. So watch this move where I rock over the left foot and then hop the left foot again. Johnny, who is one of the setters here and is a buddy of mine from when we were living in Germany last year, he was telling me about the phrase that him and a few others are coining, which is the lollipop. And that like refers to the move that we just did at the end of that red boulder, and we're actually going to do as well on this boulder here. And that's the idea of like shifting your weight over one foot on a slab and then hopping it again into a new position to land on. So yeah, this move is being called the lollipop, at least around these parts. I'm sure there are other names for it as well. And if you have your own name that you've heard of, let me know in the comments. I'm curious. But yeah, this is another good example of the epic slabs I have up at Boulderhaus. And you can see that I'm trying this interesting beta where you have to go on this higher foothold and then come down with your right foot. But then check out what Gianni is about to try. So this is Gianni, my buddy, like I was just talking about. He finds an easier way to do the end of this boulder by skipping this lower foothold and just going for the full-on direct lollipop to the finish hold. And so this move is interesting. This is also going to be today's tip of the day. We're going to talk about how to lollipop effectively, and we're going to talk about that at the end of the episode. So stay tuned if you're interested to hear like the tricks behind the scenes when it goes into going about a perfect lollipop. But basically, Gianni sort of taught me this today on this boulder. I've done a few of these lollipops in the past before, but I never really found a trick to do it. I would have things that I would focus on for sure, but he basically unlocked it today and taught me about it, and that's what we're going to talk about in today's tip of the day. And as soon as he told me the trick, you can check me out. I'm doing it like immediately right after him, and we got a pretty epic send train of this boulder. And I don't know who set this one, but it was super cool. Especially with the lollipop method and skipping that little foothold. And then we have one more boulder that we're moving into for this morning session, and then we're going to do another session here for our second session at Boulderhaus. And this slab is interesting. This one is purple tag. So the way the grading works here at this gym is they have purple tags are the hardest and black tags are the second hardest. So actually this boulder has a black tag that starts on the little gray triangle with the blue crimp undercling. And then this far left start that I'm doing is like the sit start. So it's the purple tag sit start. Obviously it's not a sit start, but it's like the low start of the boulder, the extension of it. And the extension of this boulder is crazy hard. I tried it a couple more times off camera with Gianni, but we could not figure out how to make the transition from that left volume over into this position. It felt very theory, and I don't know if it goes. Maybe someone could figure it out. But anyway, I realized pretty quick that that one was going to be far beyond me. And so we just tried the ending of this boulder, which is like a bit, so the black tag starts here with where my left hand is. And so we did a little bit of a low start to the boulder, but not quite the full purple tag low start. But yeah, the rest of this one was really cool. And you can see, like, of course we had our impromptu slab session. We did a bunch of slabs and quarter boulders. And you can see what I mean by this gym having some really epic slab and quarter style boulders set. I honestly forgot just how good it was here. Like obviously we have it really good in Montreal, but I forgot just how good the Boulderhaus and like Studio Block slab and quarter boulders are. And like some really interesting movements and honestly some different styles in general. I wouldn't say that the slab boulders in Montreal are better or worse than in the Darmstadt area. Same thing with the COORDO. I wouldn't say that Montreal COORDO is better or worse than around here. The styles are just very different, and it's simply just because there are different setters with different minds that interpret movements differently and are psyched on pushing the levels of different movements. So it's cool. I haven't had as much lollipop practice in Montreal as I have in Darmstadt, because even when we were living here last year, I remember doing a couple lollipops in this gym, and I haven't had as much campus, like crazy footless campus paddles practice in these gyms as I have had at Roseblock, for example, which Chris loves to set. So it's always cool to travel sometimes for training and get a taste of different styles in different parts of the world. And if you're someone who's really looking to level up your campus paddles, go do some training in Montreal. And lollipops, come train here in Darmstadt. But anyway, we're moving into our second session now, and I was hoping to have a bit more power to work with, because obviously we did a bunch of the quarter boulders in the morning, which meant that there were a lot of power boulders left up in the gym that I haven't tried. And usually the case with me is that I'll be feeling pretty strong in the second session, and I was hoping for this to be the case. And I felt strange. Like I said, this whole day was kind of like probably the day that I'd imagine this is going to be the worst of the jet lag that I'm going to be feeling. I did not feel super solid in this second session, and I didn't even feel weak. I just felt unstable. I felt like my movements patterns were a bit like disconnected from how I was envisioning them in my mind, and I could tell that there was like a mind-body disconnect sort of thing, and I also just felt a little bit shaky. That's sort of how I would describe it when I feel bad because of jet lag, and that's what I was feeling today. And yeah, that's also why we came to Europe early, so that I don't feel like this on comp day and I can shake off this rust. But I still felt like decently strong, like my fingers could hold holds, so I'm able to try a boulder like this, for example, which Johnny was telling me was the hardest of these 4 comp simulation boulders. And Johnny's hanging out with me while I'm having the session too, and he's helping me out with beta and with movements, which was pretty fun. And for this boulder in particular, for example, I guess I'm sort of reinventing the beta here in the middle. I couldn't really tell how to get up to this pretty decent red crimp on top of this black volume, and I just decided, okay, let me try to do a little one-arm jump to it. But Johnny was telling me that the idea is actually to mantle off of the start hold and then go up to this crimp with your left hand and then paddle through to the next crimp. But I thought my method was pretty 5 stars, and so I just stuck with it. And I got really psyched up for this attempt and tried hard, and was able to stick a pretty Zach style move on that one, which is pretty cool. And then I had to really keep it together for this extra spicy technical ending. This one was a cool blend of power, like really aggressive power at the start, and then you got to calm down, switch up your bouldering styles, and tech it out to get to the top hold. And also, before I forget to mention, maybe you've noticed the video looks a little bit different. And the long story short is I'm playing around with a new camera during this episode, and I might be playing around with some cameras in future episodes as well. and I might actually get like a newer version of the camera I'm using here. So anyway, you can expect like a little bit of experimenting with the camera and the video in some future episodes. And yeah, we'll see what I land on in like probably a month of experimenting from here and there. And then yeah, we're gonna finish off with one more boulder. I tried to put the emphasis in trying some of the more power strengthy boulders in the second session, simply because I avoided them for so long in the morning. But I just really didn't have the sauce in either of these sessions. So after trying just a couple power boulders, I was already gassed and my body was just feeling really shaky. So that meant I had to go back to the slab. And even with the amount of techie boulders that we did in the morning, there was still a good amount that I hadn't tried. So I'm hopping on this one to finish off the session. And I decided to call the session a little bit short as well, because I was really gassing out. And this one was just 45 minutes long. And that's good. That's like the idea with these sessions. As we approach the World Cup, we want to have them be like capped at an hour. And if I want to call them early, that's even better too. Just like save energy, and it really builds up in the bank come comp day. When we cut all these sessions short, we have a lot of extra energy in the bank. And yeah, it's nice. I have just enough boulders to come back tomorrow morning and have like another boulder session, which I haven't done yet at the time I'm recording this. But this one was a good one to finish off the session. It had some extra spicy finish here. And this ending sequence I thought didn't look too bad initially. But one thing that I'm like also not accounting for, and I'm glad that we're here so early in Europe, is that these gyms, like Studio Block, okay, Studio Block has air conditioning. It's not quite as powerful as the gyms in Montreal, but this gym, Boulderhaus Darmstadt, and then as far as I know, since when we lived here, Boulderhaus also does not have air conditioning. And these gyms get quite warm. And so Prague is also going to be an outdoor event and is probably going to be quite warm as well. So it's actually really good that we're here early and getting used to climbing in intense heat. This is actually like really, really good and really, really important. And just even at the end of that red boulder, that slab, I could feel my feet were like greasing down these holds and like sliding and slipping around. And I was even noticing this throughout the whole day of training. And it's important to get used to climbing in these conditions and know how to tactically like how do I like de-sweat mid boulder when my hands are like really sweating? You gotta like kind of get some air on them, right? You want to blow on them with your hands when you have a chance. Or how do I deal with my shoes when I feel them sliding around? And you just have to get used to these sensations and not have them feel so foreign. And so that I'm a bit used to it in case it's like really, really warm in Prague. So it's actually really great that these gyms are pretty warm, because I think it's valuable to get used to this style of climbing in the heat. And I'm glad we're here early doing this. But anyway, let's fast forward to future Zach as we're looking at the next day of training. So here we are the next day back at Boulderhaus. And luckily I was actually feeling a little bit better today than I was yesterday. Hopefully the previous day of training was the worst of the jet lag that I'm going to be feeling. And then it should just be getting better and better from here. And so I still had a couple cool looking boulders left up in Boulderhaus. And this one here is a great example of this. I thought this was a really creative way of setting a backward spin around boulder, like taking advantage of the dihedral. It was really cool. And the tricky part about this move, you can see I'm really having to adjust my right foot a lot. And that's because when you have a shoe like the Tomoas that have sort of the inner edge of the shoe is the shoe sort of curved inwards, and the inner edge is the best part of the shoe to stand on, I have to like really, really twist my foot to get as much of the inner edge as I can, because that's where I'm supposed to be weighting the footholds. And if it was too much on the outside, I wasn't really getting any purchase on that foothold. But yeah, that was a fun, cool, creative backwards sequence on the boulder. That one was like definitely a hidden gem. And I wanted to take advantage of feeling a little bit stronger today, so we're gonna hop on all of the powerful, grip strength, intensive looking boulders that I didn't hop on yesterday. and there are definitely a few of them. And yeah, it was an interesting feeling I had today. It was a little bit of a mixture of feeling overall better than the first day, but definitely less fresh. I was a little bit sore from just the sheer volume of bouldering that we did in the previous day, but at the same time my body felt better, and that's always a funny feeling. It's like knowing that if I was like fresh on this day, I would have been feeling great. And honestly, one thing that I didn't really account for when I was writing my training for this like week of training in Germany, especially in regards to the heat, is I didn't account for the heat and the humidity and how that is actually gonna basically be making my body work a bit harder than usual and basically get sorer than I usually would. So like if we were sort of in the air conditioning gyms in Montreal and having these exact same sessions, I bet I would be feeling a lot less sore the previous day than I am from these sessions that we're doing in the intense heat in Germany. I find I've been waking up and feeling abnormally sore. Regardless of the travel and the jet lag, it just is an extra bit of soreness that I can tell shouldn't really be there. And I think it's actually the heat, just like really breaking down my body and making it have to work really, really hard. And so I didn't account for that when I was writing the training, and I think I'm realizing I might need to make my sessions even a little bit shorter than they already are. I already have my training program, having the duration of the sessions taper a bit, but I might go and cut some of the sessions down by even like 15 minutes or something should do it, just to account for the heat, making it extra hard on the training. But anyway, you can see I'm feeling decently strong today, and we're trying this super epic, powerful boulder, and this is one of the comp set. And this one I thought was super, super awesome and very, very World Cup style. This could absolutely be copy and paste a boulder that we see in the men's qualification round. And I think Johnny said he set this one, and he was actually this first move, he was going for a move where we're supposed to keep the toe hook and lâcher all the way into this press move, but I couldn't really find the good movement with that method, so you see I sort of do it in two parts. But yeah, he had actually set that move before for me a long time ago in this gym, where you're in a toe hook position, you have to pendulum out of it and land in a new position. But yeah, I guess I forgot how that move really worked, and I couldn't replicate it today. So I had to do sort of somewhat of a beta break. I think it's still a very cool lâcher move out of even when we released the toe hook first. But yeah, that one was a satisfying send to get. But after that one, I like this is an example of the heat as well. Like that was probably the first that was kind of like the only power boulder we did so far in the session. We're like 25 minutes in, and I was just absolutely cooked after that boulder. And usually I can climb for up to an hour and a half at a time, and just after 25 minutes of climbing in this intense heat, I was just getting pumped a lot easier, and I was just feeling my hands open up a bit. So I knew that I was going to have to call the session a little bit shorter than usual, and I think I only climbed for like 45 minutes, same sort of thing as the second session from yesterday. Now, even though I was getting a little bit tired, I was watching Gianni try this boulder yesterday, and it looked like a lot of fun actually, even for a cave boulder. I don't necessarily cave climbing isn't necessarily my favorite all the time, but every now and then I'll see like a really cool cave boulder with some cool moves, and I'll want to try it. And this exiting the cave and coming over the lip sequence here, I thought looked really cool when I saw Gianni trying it. Really cool, powerful foot first sequence where the toe hook isn't actually so good, and it's like a really, really powerful move. I definitely wanted to try this boulder just for that move. And I've also talked about this before, especially when we were training for the Vail North American Cup. I also think it's valuable to test my power endurance in little short bouts right as we're about to go into an important competition, because you never know when you'll find yourself getting like really pumped during competition. Not even necessarily because you're trying a long boulder. It can be just that you're trying very, very hard because it's a comp round and your body works like extra hard through like 5 moves, and then all of a sudden you get really pumped. And so by me practicing on boulders like this that are so long and I have to just fight the pump as hard as I can, you can see I'm about to actually shake out a little bit here because I'm so pumped. This is actually really good practice for me to get used to fighting through the pump and get that skill sort of refreshed and know how to play with the sensations of being super, super pumped. Trying a boulder like this isn't necessarily going to build endurance for me. Like it's not enough time for me to actually build endurance and make endurance gains. But the idea is, like I said, sort of more almost strategic. And I learn how to strategically fight on an endurance boulder a little bit. And that way, if I encounter it on comp day, I'm a bit more prepared. So that's the logic behind trying a boulder like that. But anyway, here we are at the end of the episode and we're gonna jump into the tip of the day now. Okay, so for today's tip of the day, we're gonna be talking about a move that is starting to pick up in popularity and trend quite a bit. And I'm not sure if there's an official name for this move yet, but I was climbing with Johnny today, of course, in the video, and he said that the Germans have been coining the term lollipop. So this move is a lollipop, and first I'll quickly talk about like what the move is, and then we had a really great breakthrough today on an effective way to actually go about this lollipop move. So the gist of a lollipop is we're in a no hands position on a slab with 2 feet, and the idea is we have to shift our weight over one of our feet and then jump again with that foot. And sometimes you may land in a no hands position, or in other cases, such as this one, we have to hit a handhold and then even do a foot stab out of it. But the core idea of the lollipop is that we are just transitioning weight onto a foot and then hopping, basically doing like a 1-leg pistol squat off that foot to another foot. So the big breakthrough that we had on the lollipop today was that the idea is you want to make sure you don't get caught up in just trying to jump as powerfully as you can off your one leg. And the idea is that you actually want to balance for as long as you can on that one foot before you actually transition off of it. And the idea is to have as little of a hop off the foot as possible. That way you can land in your end position as softly as possible. And the reason that this is important with a lollipop is because most of the time, the end position you're going to be landing in is not going to be an easy position. So either it's going to be a foothold that you have to land on and balance on, and it's going to be difficult to do that with a lot of momentum if your jump was too powerful. Or in this case, we're trying to jump to a really bad finish hold and we have to lay back it as much as possible. And the more force we have coming at that finish hold, the more difficult it is going to be to do that with. So I guess if we're doing a lollipop and you're jumping to a jug, this little trick isn't as important. But with the more advanced lollipops, where you're going to be ending in a tricky end position, the idea is that you want to slow down in the middle, balance on your foot for as long as you can, because the idea is usually that the foothold will be good enough that you can almost balance on, but not quite. And then as soon as you feel yourself start to fall, you do a little hop with as much control as possible. And that is the trick with lollipopping. So that's the end of the episode. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one. Insert catchy video outro here.